It began with a stolen glance across the office floor. Just another Monday morning. Fluorescent lights buzzing, keyboards clacking in sync. Amelia sat at her desk, her eyes catching his reflection in the glass pane. Nathan. Juan. The married man. Her boss. His smile was practiced, professional, yet that morning, it lingered half a second longer. That half second changed everything. They were careful at first, passing notes hidden inside client folders, brushing fingers during coffee handoffs, pretending not to know each other beyond deadlines and quarterly targets. But after the first kiss, everything changed. Guilt was there, yes, but so was adrenaline. For Nathan, it was a thrill. For Amelia, it felt like forbidden magic. "We need to stop," she had whispered once, breathless, pinned against a filing cabinet in the records room. He didn't reply, only kissed her harder. That silence spoke louder than any promise. She knew what she was becoming, the secret. But she didn't know what that secret would cost her. By Wednesday, the air between them was electric. Every email was laced with a hidden message. Every meeting, a dance of stolen glances and coded nods. Nathan was a master of duality, devoted husband on one screen, secret lover on the other. Amelia told herself it was temporary, a phase, a thrill. Yet, she was always the one checking the clock, waiting for the ding of his message. "I wish I met you before her," he'd said during one of their clandestine lunches. Amelia smiled, but deep down, that sentence was a knife wrapped in roses. The truth she refused to admit, she was addicted. Not to him, but to the way he made her feel. Desired, powerful, chosen. Every second together burned hotter than the last. Oh. But beneath it all, the question loomed like storm clouds. What happens when the secret can't stay hidden? The weekend arrived, and Amelia found herself obsessively scrolling through Nathan's social media. Perfect family portraits, beach outings, Sunday pancakes, all curated illusions. Her thumb paused over a recent post. Nathan and his wife Lauren, smiling in front of a vineyard, captioned, "Still my everything." A sharp sting hit her chest. He never posted about Amelia. He never could. She was a footnote in his life, a chapter he wrote in secret. "I'm such a fool," she whispered, tossing her phone aside. And yet, hours later, she was in his arms again, swearing she didn't care. He made promises, soft, sweet nothings, each one stacking like bricks in a wall she would later have to tear down. The lie wasn't just his. It was hers too. She was lying to herself, and that was the cruelest betrayal of all. On Monday morning, Lauren made an unexpected visit to the office. Amelia froze when she saw her, elegant, poised, and warm. She walked with the confidence of someone who believed her life was intact. "I brought Nathan lunch," Lauren said cheerfully, setting the bag down at his desk. Amelia watched from a distance, heart hammering, wondering if Lauren sensed the crack in her perfect world. Nathan played the part well, kiss on the cheek, arm around the waist, all smiles. Then his eyes met Amelia's for a flicker of a second. Her stomach dropped. In that glance, everything screamed danger. She knew then. This wasn't just about secret kisses anymore. It was a fire, and they were standing too close. That night, Amelia stood in the shower, long after the water had gone cold. She had never meant to fall into this. It started with thrill, then morphed into obsession. Now it felt like quicksand. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She knew it was him, and she hated herself for wanting to look. The steam clung to her skin like guilt. For the first time she wondered, not about how it would end, but who she would be when it did. Would she be broken? Forgotten? Or worse, replaced? The affair had taken more than just her time and attention. It had taken pieces of her she didn't know she was giving away. And with each passing day, there was less of her left. Amelia noticed it first in Nathan's tone. His texts became shorter. Calls came less often. In meetings, he avoided her eyes. She tried not to panic. Maybe he was stressed. Maybe Lauren was catching on. But denial is a powerful drug. "Are you okay?" she typed one evening. He left it on read for 4 hours. Then replied with a simple, "Just busy." The same night, she walked past his car in the parking garage. It was empty, engine cold. Yet he'd told her he was still working late. Her stomach coiled with dread. Something was shifting. She couldn't prove it, but she felt it in her bones. The rush of being wanted was slowly replaced by a hollow ache. She didn't know whether to confront him or play dumb and hope he'd return to her. Instead, she sat in her car and cried quietly into the steering wheel, her reflection in the rearview mirror, a stranger she didn't recognize. The following week, Lauren returned to the office, this time with cupcakes. "Just a little thank you for everything you all do," she chimed, smiling brightly at everyone. Amelia forced a smile, but her hands trembled as she accepted the box. It felt like a move on a chessboard, one Lauren knew how to play well. She wasn't just being sweet, she was claiming territory. And Nathan? He played along, his arm gently brushing his wife's back, laughing at jokes as if he weren't living a lie. Amelia watched them interact like it was a rehearsed play. Ah. Her heart sank further when Lauren turned to her and said, "You're Amelia, right? Nathan says you're a great asset." That sentence knocked the breath from her lungs. He was feeding her crumbs, keeping her just close enough to keep quiet but never close enough to matter. She smiled, nodded, and excused herself to the restroom before the tears won. That night, Amelia couldn't sleep. She replayed every interaction, every word Lauren had said. It wasn't just kindness, it was control. And Nathan? He was slipping away like sand through her fingers. In a desperate moment, she opened a fake Instagram account and followed Lauren. What she saw was unbearable. Pictures of candlelit dinners, anniversary gifts, and captions like, "Hi, still gives me butterflies." Every heart emoji was a dagger. Amelia threw her phone across the room. The screen cracked. Her breathing grew shallow as panic set in. She wasn't just losing him, she had never really had him. The realization cut deep. She lay on the cold wooden floor, staring at the ceiling, feeling like a ghost in her own life. The woman he went home to had everything, and all Amelia had was silence. The next day, Amelia finally snapped. She waited until Nathan passed by her desk and followed him into a quiet stairwell. "Are you avoiding me?" she asked, voice trembling. Nathan looked startled, then defensive. "I told you, things are complicated right now," he replied. "So is I just a phase?" she asked. His silence was louder than a scream. He ran a hand through his hair and said, "I can't talk here." But she needed answers. "Do you still want this, or should I disappear?" she asked, voice low but intense. He hesitated, looked away, then muttered, "It's not that simple." And just like that, the foundation of her world crumbled. She nodded slowly, lips pressed tight. Without another word, she turned and walked away, the stairwell echoing with the sound of heels and heartbreak. Amelia didn't come into work the next day. She called in sick, though no virus could explain the heaviness in her chest. She stayed curled on her couch, surrounded by silence, watching the clock tick louder than her thoughts. Outside, the city moved on without her. Cars honking, neighbors laughing, life continuing as if nothing had shattered. Nathan didn't text. Not even once. That silence was its own kind of message. In her mind, she imagined Lauren sipping coffee beside him, maybe even laughing about something mundane. The world was tilted. Her part in his story was shrinking. And in that silence, Amelia began to understand. This wasn't heartbreak. It was erasure. She wasn't losing a man. She was being erased from a life she was never meant to be part of. Amelia didn't delete the messages. She reread them all. Every "I miss you," every "I need you," every late night whisper typed in a rush of lust and longing. She scrolled until her thumb ached, like picking at a scab that would never heal. "You made me feel like I mattered," she whispered aloud. But now, each word felt like a lie. It was time to remember who she was before him. She stood up, opened her closet, and pulled out a dusty shoebox filled with old photographs, college days, laughter with friends, a younger version of herself who didn't need validation from a married man. That girl smiled without guilt. That girl deserved better. She stared at one photo, herself on graduation day, eyes full of ambition, and began to cry, not from weakness but from mourning the version of herself she'd abandoned. She met up with her best friend Maya for drinks that evening, her first real outing in weeks. "You look like hell," Maya said, half joking, eyes filled with concern. Amelia gave a hollow laugh. "I've been living in one." Over cocktails, the truth spilled out. Everything. The affair. The lies. The heartbreak. Maya didn't judge. She just listened. When Amelia finally paused, Maya said, "You're not a villain. You're just someone who loved the wrong person." Those words hit her harder than any insult. She had been carrying shame like armor, convinced she was the only one to blame. But now for the first time she felt seen. They laughed. They cried. And for a moment, Amelia remembered who she was outside of Nathan's shadow. The world hadn't ended. Maybe it had just begun again. The next morning, Amelia went back to work. Head held high, makeup sharp, shoulders squared. She wore red, bold, unapologetic, the color of power. Co-workers glanced her way, whispering as she walked past. She knew what they suspected. Maybe they even knew. But she no longer shrank under their stares. She was done hiding. Nathan was in a meeting when she arrived. She sat at her desk and began working like it was any other day. But inside, she was changing. Each keystroke felt like defiance. When he passed by her desk later, she didn't look up. His hand twitched slightly, as if wanting to say something. She didn't give him the chance. She didn't need words anymore. Her silence now held more strength than any confession ever could. But healing wasn't linear. That night, Amelia woke from a dream, drenched in sweat. In it, Lauren had confronted her in front of everyone, ripping open her secrets like paper. She gasped for breath sitting up in bed. Her chest ached. Her hands shook. Guilt didn't disappear with empowerment. It lingered, clinging like smoke after fire. She walked barefoot to the window and stared into the dark city. Somewhere out there, Lauren slept beside a man who whispered lies while texting another. Somewhere Nathan rested easy while she carried the weight of both their sins. She pressed her hand to the cold glass and whispered, "I'm sorry." Not to him, not even to Lauren, but to herself, for letting love become self-destruction. Days passed. Then one afternoon, a letter arrived at Amelia's door. No return address, handwriting familiar. Inside, a single photograph. It was her and Nathan, outside the motel, holding hands, heads close. Taken from a distance. Her breath hitched. No note. No name. Just evidence. Her fingers trembled. Was it Lauren? A warning? A threat? Her mind raced. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. Someone was watching. Someone knew. She looked around, paranoid. Every shadow seemed suspect. Every silence too loud. This was no longer an affair. It was a ticking bomb. And someone had just lit the fuse. She folded the photo back into the envelope, heart pounding, and locked every window before pulling the blinds shut. The envelope haunted Amelia for days. She checked the peephole twice before opening her door. She scanned crowds like a fugitive. Then, late Thursday evening, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text appeared. "You think secrets stay buried?" No name. No photo. Just that. Her skin prickled. She tried to call the number. It rang once, then disconnected. The walls felt like they were closing in. She rushed to Nathan, showed him the message. He paled, rubbed his face, and muttered, "She knows." Amelia's heart plummeted. "Lauren," she whispered. He nodded slowly. "I don't know how, but She knows? His voice cracked for the first time, not in guilt, but fear. She's not who you think she is, he added. But Amelia already knew. The photo, the silence, the cupcakes. It was never just sweetness. It was a warning. And now, the hunter had stepped into the light. Lauren didn't confront her. Not directly. Instead, she started appearing everywhere. At the coffee shop near Amelia's apartment. In the building lobby at random hours. Once, she even stood across the street, pretending to scroll her phone. Always close enough to be seen. Never close enough to be questioned. Amelia felt her presence like a shadow stitched to her footsteps. She tried to tell Nathan, but he brushed it off. "You're imagining things," he said, distracted. But deep down, Amelia knew she wasn't. This wasn't coincidence. It was psychological warfare. Lauren wasn't coming for her with rage. She was coming with silence. Calculated. Cold. And in that silence, Amelia realized something terrifying. Lauren didn't want answers. She wanted punishment. And she was willing to take her time delivering it. Then the calls began. Blocked numbers. No voice on the other end. Just breathing. Heavy, controlled. Amelia stopped sleeping. Her hands trembled at work. She started misplacing things, snapping at coworkers, arriving late. One afternoon she opened her email and found an anonymous message. "You ruined something pure. It's time you pay." Attached was another photo. Her and Nathan at the motel. But closer this time, clearer. A high-res threat. She slammed her laptop shut, heart racing. She was being watched. Tracked. Hunted, not by a stranger, but by the one person with every reason to destroy her. And Amelia realized something chilling. Lauren wasn't trying to expose her. She was isolating her, breaking her slowly. And no one would believe the mistress. In a last attempt to reclaim her sanity, Amelia confronted Nathan again. "Do something," she demanded. "She's unraveling me." But Nathan was different now. Withdrawn. Cold. "Oh, I can't control her," he muttered. This was always dangerous. His words were like daggers. "So you're abandoning me?" she asked. "You used me and now you're afraid?" He didn't deny it. Just looked at her with hollow eyes and said, "You knew the risk." That broke her. All the promises, the touches, the stolen moments, they meant nothing. She was collateral. A side effect. A memory he'd buried to save himself. She stepped back, breath shaky, eyes wide. "She's not going to stop," Amelia whispered. Nathan just shrugged. "Neither would you, if it were your husband." In that moment, Amelia realized. She wasn't the secret anymore. She was the target. When she got home that night, her apartment was unlocked. Nothing stolen. Nothing broken. But everything felt, touched. Her drawers slightly ajar. Her mirror tilted. Her scent bottle turned upside down. She backed into the hallway, breath short. Then she saw it, on the kitchen counter. A single red rose, its petals damp and dark. No note. Just the flower. A calling card. A promise. Amelia didn't scream. She didn't cry. She locked the door, pulled the shades, and slid to the floor. Her body trembled violently. This wasn't jealousy anymore. This was methodical. Lauren wasn't just punishing her. She was dismantling her, piece by piece. And the worst part? She hadn't even begun to fight back. Not yet. The next morning, Amelia found her work email deactivated. No warning. No explanation. I wouldn't speak to her. Her ID badge didn't unlock the front door. She stood outside in disbelief as rain began to fall. One by one, coworkers passed her by, some with awkward glances, others with forced smiles. She was invisible. Or worse, discarded. She finally got through to a junior assistant who whispered over the phone. Lauren filed a complaint. Said you were harassing her husband. Amelia's mouth went dry. It's not true, she stammered. She has no proof. But she did. She had surveillance. Pictures. Texts. Possibly even voice recordings. Amelia staggered back from the entrance. It wasn't just her affair that was over. Her career was collapsing. And no one, not even Nathan, was going to save her from it. The story spread fast. Whispers trailed Amelia wherever she went, grocery store clerks, neighbors in the elevator, even her yoga class. That's the girl, they'd murmur. Someone had shared the motel photos. Probably Lauren died. Maybe anonymously, maybe not. But the damage was done. She became a walking scandal. Anonymous notes appeared on her doorstep. Homewrecker, karma. Eggs were thrown at her windows one night. She called the police, but they shrugged. Domestic disputes aren't our jurisdiction unless there's a threat. She laughed bitterly. There was no blood yet, but the wounds were real. Deep, biting horror. Invisible. The world had taken Lauren's side before she'd even spoken a word. Amelia realized then. Lauren wasn't using violence. She was using reputation. And she was winning. Maya came over unannounced, arms full of takeout and worry. "What the hell is going on?" she asked, setting food down. Amelia collapsed into her arms, finally letting herself sob. Maya listened, eyes wide with disbelief. "You need to fight back," she said firmly. "She's dragging you through hell." Amelia wiped her face. "I don't know how. She has everything. Power. Money. A husband who won't defend me." Maya leaned forward, her voice sharp. "Then take something from her. Make her bleed a little." Amelia shook her head. "I'm not like her." "No," Maya said. "But she's betting you'll stay weak." That night, Amelia stared at her cracked phone screen. She didn't want revenge. She wanted freedom. But maybe, just maybe, the only way out was to make Lauren see she wouldn't break so easily. Armed with determination, Amelia returned to the motel. She asked the manager for security footage. "I can't release that," he said. "Not without a subpoena." But Amelia didn't back down. "Someone used this place to destroy me. I deserve to know how." He hesitated, then relented, showing her grainy clips. There she was, entering alone. But then, in the corner of one screen, Lauren, wearing sunglasses, holding a camera, following her. Amelia froze. Proof. Majigawa. She snapped a photo of the screen with her phone before the manager could object. It wasn't justice, but it was a crack in the wall Lauren had built. For the first time in weeks, Amelia stood straighter. Maybe she wasn't powerless after all. Maybe the hunted could become the witness. She emailed the photo to herself, printed it, framed it in her mind like armor. That night she stood in front of her mirror and repeated, "You are not disposable," over and over. Her voice cracked at first. Then it steadied. Then it grew. She pulled on a black dress, the one Nathan once said made her look dangerous. She looked herself in the eyes and saw someone reborn, not untouched but unafraid. Lauren had taken her job, her reputation, nearly her mind. But she hadn't taken her will. Amelia stepped out into the night, not as a victim, but as a storm. This wasn't about taking back a man. He was never hers to begin with. This was about reclaiming her narrative, her dignity, her damn name. Amelia booked a meeting with HR. This time she came with the motel footage, Lauren in the corner, camera in hand. She placed the printed stills on the desk, her voice firm. This wasn't just personal. This was targeted harassment. The HR rep shifted uncomfortably. "We'll need time to evaluate." "Of course," Amelia said calmly. "I've already contacted legal." That was a lie, but it landed like truth. For the first time she wasn't pleading. She was presenting facts. When she stepped outside, her heart pounded. But it wasn't from fear. It was power. Raw, unfamiliar, intoxicating. She had spent months in shadows, begging for scraps of decency. Not anymore. She wasn't afraid of Lauren. She wasn't afraid of whispers. If this was a war, she had finally chosen to fight. Later that night, Nathan called. For the first time in weeks, he sounded nervous. "She knows you have the footage?" he asked. Amelia didn't answer. "You shouldn't provoke her," he continued. "You don't know what she's capable of." Amelia laughed, low bitter. "I think I do now." He was silent. Then, "I never wanted this to happen to you, but you let it," she said, voice steady. "You let her destroy me while you watched from the sideline." He sighed. "I didn't know how to stop her." "No," she replied. "You just didn't want to lose your comfort." She hung up before he could respond. The weight she'd carried for him cracked and fell away. He wasn't her protector. He was her coward. And cowards don't get to hold your heart. The next morning, Amelia visited a legal aid office. She had no money for top lawyers, but she had her truth. "I have proof I was followed, harassed, and professionally sabotaged," she said. The intake lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Priya, nodded slowly as she reviewed the photos. "This isn't a criminal case yet, but it could be civil harassment. Possibly defamation. Let's start there." Amelia exhaled. It wasn't victory, but it was motion. She wasn't standing still anymore. As she walked out of the office and stepped into the sun, something inside her shifted. It wasn't just about clearing her name anymore. It was about reclaiming her agency. The more Lauren tried to erase her, the harder Amelia would carve her story into the world. Brick by brick. Word spread quickly. Someone in the office leaked the truth, that Amelia had been stalked, not the other way around. The whispers changed tone. People began to glance with curiosity instead of judgment. One coworker even muttered, "I'm sorry we believed her." Amelia didn't bask in vindication. She just kept moving forward. Meanwhile, Lauren's curated perfection began to crack. Her social media went dark. Her smiles at the office turned tight. And Nathan? He looked smaller now, shrinking behind paperwork, avoiding every glance. Amelia stood in the elevator beside him one afternoon. No words. No acknowledgement. Just silence. But this time, it was hers. And in it, there was dignity. She had once been his secret. Now she was his reminder. That evening, Amelia went back to the rooftop where she had once confronted Nathan. The skyline pulsed with lights, but the air was still. She lit a single candle and placed it on the ledge. A quiet symbol of release. She didn't need revenge anymore. She didn't need Lauren's apology or Nathan's redemption. What she needed was peace. And for the first time she felt it, small, soft, but present. She stood there for a while, eyes closed, letting the city breathe around her. The storm had taken its toll. But she was still here. Still standing. Still whole. When she opened her eyes, she whispered, "You don't own me anymore." And with that, she turned and walked away, the flame flickering behind her but never going out. A week later, Amelia received a letter, handwritten, no return address. She almost threw it away. But something made her open it. Inside was a single page. "You were never my enemy," it read. "But you took something I thought I'd secured forever. I couldn't forgive that. I still can't. But I understand now. You didn't steal him. He gave himself away." No signature, but she knew the handwriting. It was Lauren. The letter didn't ask for forgiveness. It didn't offer closure. It was a wound stitched with regret and quiet fury. Amelia folded it slowly, placed it in the back of her journal. She didn't know what to make of it. But in a strange way, it felt like the final breath of a storm that had already passed. Not peace, but quiet. And for now, that was enough. Nathan resigned. Rumors circulated, personal scandal, stress leave, an HR investigation. Amelia didn't celebrate. She walked past his empty office with no triumph in her chest. Just stillness. What once consumed her, his attention, his touch, his promises, now barely registered as a memory. People greeted her differently now. A few offered apologies. Others nodded in quiet respect. No one said her name in hushed tones anymore. It was as if the story had burned itself out, leaving behind only ashes. Amelia didn't need justice to feel whole. She just needed space. And she'd carved that out, against every wall built to cage her. This wasn't revenge. It was release. Months passed. Amelia moved apartments. Changed her number. Got a new job, nothing glamorous but honest hers. She began writing again, late at night, pouring her story into pages not to be seen, but to be understood. One evening, while journaling, she paused and whispered, "I forgive you." She didn't say who it was for. Lauren, Nathan, herself. Maybe all three. Forgiveness wasn't a gift for them. It was her release. The chains had been heavy. But now, there was lightness. She went to bed that night not haunted, but healed, slowly, imperfectly, but truly. Her life no longer revolved around secrets or fear. It revolved around her. One afternoon, Amelia crossed paths with Lauren. Not in confrontation, but coincidence. A bookstore. Both reached for the same title. Their eyes met. Neither spoke. Amelia saw no rage in Lauren's gaze, only exhaustion, perhaps recognition. A shared scar neither could erase. Lauren stepped back, gestured for Amelia to take the book. Amelia nodded and accepted. No words. No apologies. Just a silent acknowledgement of everything that had passed between them. It was strange, this quiet. But it was human. They had both lost. And in a way, they had both survived. When Amelia left the store, she didn't look back. She didn't need to. That night, Amelia stood by her window, watching the city pulse with light. So much had changed. And yet, the world moved on. No dramatic finale, no grand justice. Just choices. Survival. Growth. She had walked through fire, not without burns, but with strength. Her story was messy, complicated, but it was hers now, untangled from another's shadow. As the wind rustled the curtains, she whispered a final truth into the dark. I was his secret, but I'm no one's shame. And in that moment, a soft smile broke across her face. Not of joy, but of arrival. She turned off the light, leaving the window open to the night. The world didn't need to know her name, but she did. And that was enough.